A few courts of ha'aris about like Baomer. Erstens, we all know that it's the Hilul of Reb Shimon Bar Yochai, but it's also the outside of the Ramah, and Klal Yisrael, Bnei Ashkenaz definitely follow the Ramah. Bnei Yisrael Yetzim Yad Ramah. They say that. I heard a story. I don't know the makar for it, but it's a good story anyways. The Ramah was sitting and learning one day, and there was the shuk, the Yom HaShuk. And then one day, by one Yom HaShuk, so the Ramah said he wanted to go check out what's going on. And he goes outside, but instead of going to the right, where the shuk was, he went to the left. He went a different way than where the shuk was. I don't know if it was right, left, whatever it was. And the people told him that, you're not going to the shuk, you're going the wrong way. He said, I know. So they followed him. And as he was going, they saw a bunch of horses schlepping tons and tons of wagons, and he stopped them. And he told this guy that was schlepping these wagons, the wagons were full of meat, and he told this fellow that was schlepping the meat that you're b'shum panabayif and not going to sell this meat, it's treif. So the guy said, what are you talking about, treif? I've 50 wagons here of meat, how could it be that I'm selling treif? And what happened was, the guy said, I don't know what you're talking about, and back and forth. Ramah said, I'm going to stop you. Now, in those days, if the Ramah, the chief rabbi of Krakow, said something, you listen. So he didn't know what to do. Bekitzer, Saif Maisa, the guy ended up being murdered to Ramah that there was one wagon that was treif. So they asked Ramah, how do you know that it was that specific wagon? So he told them that he has a Kabbalah, the Messiah, that ravens go next to a treif of meat, and he saw a whole flock of ravens, hovering about that wagon. So he knew that was the one. And just interesting, just a little bit more about the Ramah. Ki Yadua, he wrote a whole sefer. He was working on writing a whole sefer on halacha, on Shulchan Aruch, and he heard that the Beis Yosef was writing something, so he stopped and he wrote Hagoyis on it, and those Hagoyis is what we have as the Ramah. In addition to the Hagoyis on Shulchan Aruch, we also have the Darkei Moshe they wrote on the Torah, which is also very much halacha and psak. He wrote Chuvas HaRamah. There's a lot of clashing or kinasofrim over there between him and the Marshal, amongst others. Very, very sharp. Back and forth, the Marshal calls him out on different things, and he responds, and it's back. It's very, very interesting. Ayin Sham, he wrote Teres Chatos, that's on Yeridei Sugis, I believe. There's also Mechir Yayin, he wrote, it was a story behind it that he didn't have who to give Mishlech Manos to or something like that, so he wrote a Pirush on the Megillah. It's a very interesting style. I mean, it's not Al-Pi Pshat, it's more Al-Pi Drush and Remez. Maybe a little bit Derech HaMosar also. And he also wrote Teres HaOila, which is going through different inyanim about the Beis HaMikdash, and, the measurements and correspond to different things, what the different things in the Beis HaMikdash are meramis to. And, we're, Baruch Hashem, we're zeichet to learn this Torah of this Heilige Ramah. Was a tremendous person. There's a lot of famous stories about him, with the chasana that they got swallowed in the ground, or the fact that he was Mekadosh. He went ahead with being Masadik Kedushin on Shabbos. Whatever, that's a whole separate mindset. But anyways, a little bit about like Baomer. So there's one of the questions that we could ask, is that we find that the day of the Yom Tzirah Shel Moshe Rabbeinu Zayin Adar is a day of Avelis, and it's brought down like that. It's brought down Shulchan Aruch and Simon Tavkuf Pei, and the day of if it's the day of the P'tir of Reb Shimon Bar Yochai, which is questionable. Many hold that it's not, but according to those who hold that it is the day of the P'tir of Reb Shimon Bar Yochai, why is it the day of celebration and the day of rejoicing? So just one quick concept in the Sefer Shai Yisachar that's written by the Minchas Elazar on Moyadim, he says like this. He says that we know the Gemara Tamura says that on the day that Moshe Rabbeinu was nifter, there was many halachas were forgotten. B'mei Avelusa Shel Moshe Rabbeinu, many halachas were forgotten. So it's a fast day because there there was a miut in the Torah that the halachas were forgotten. So we spoke. The Arvei Nachal says that those halachas could be found in Eretz Yisrael, in the land of Eretz Yisrael, meaning in the Etzem Eretz of Eretz Yisrael. So therefore, it's a tinus because there was a Torah that we lost. Masha'en Kain, on the day that Reb Shimon Bar Yochai was in Nifter, so he was Megala Saidus, and the Idrizuta is what he said on the day of his Ptira. So that's why it's a tremendous simcha. But I think it brings out the Nakuda of the Gemara in Shabbos, that says Reb Shimon Bar Yochai Omer that Chas v'Shalom shetishtachach Torah miYisrael, and the Reb Shimon Bar Yochai was, lived through very shver tkufas, very shver gzeres. He was running away from the Romans, and then he was hiding in the Bismedrash for a while. Then he was hiding in the cave for 12 years, and then for the 13th year, and then he came out. But he was involved in all kinds of communal affairs, as before in the Gemara Me'ila. But the point is that he said that Chas v'Shalom shetishtachach Torah miYisrael. How did he preserve it? What did he do? But he believed in Klal Yisrael. The Klal Yisrael is going to uphold the Torah and keep the Torah alive and keep the Torah going. Where did he know this from? Where did he get this from? The idea could be based on an experience that Reb Shimon Bar Yochai himself had, because he had a great Rebbe, Rebbe Kiva, and Rebbe Kiva had 24,000 Talmidim, and they all died this kuf of the year, from between Pesach and Shavuos, and on Lag Baomer they stopped dying. The plague died. So Reb Shimon Bar Yochai was from the new Talmidim. The world was desolate. The Olam Shamem means that there was nobody learning. There were no Kailalim in Cleveland or in Houston. There was nothing. It was gunished. So Reb Shimon Bar Yochai was the one that saw an Olam Shamem. It's almost like Noach before and after the Mabul. And here he went, and he believed that as tzibrochen as he was, that he didn't have these Talmidim of Rebbe Kiva anymore. He still believed that we could go on, we could move on and brush ourselves off, and and do what we can to try to move on, as difficult as it is. The Gemara also says, the Gemara brings in brachas on the Lamed Aleph, that Reb Shimon Bar Yochai says, Am Reb Yechon Reb Shimon Bar Yochai, Asa la'adam shemalas chayk piv b'elam hazeh, shenemar ozi malas chayk pinol sheneinu rina. That it's also for a person to fill his mouth with schayk in this world, b'elam hazeh, because the pasuk says, ozi malas chayk pinol. When is that? B'zman sheyemer b'goyim higdal Hashem la'asis emela. When Hashem will say, when the Goyim will be made that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is doing great things. So that's also lava. Now, without getting involved in all the Zikdukim and Ha'aris, but the Svarim teach us that Reb Shimon Bar Yochai was not living in Olam Hazeh, in the sense that his mind was like Rebbe Kiva, was way ahead of his time, and was way ahead. Rebbe Kiva was a mitzachik, everyone was crying. But Reb Shimon Bar Yochai held that in this world, this takatzaras, and we live through it, and we have to suffer, and we have to endure the pain of the tzaras. But Lamais at the end of the day is like the shtakach Torah miYisrael. Reb Shimon Bar Yochai says that the Torah will never be forgotten, and there's a lashon in the Yerushalmi that says, "In Re'isa Sabrias Shenisyashu Yedem and Torah Ma'od." My time, my favorite Teresecha is Lashem. That's what Reb Shimon Bar Yochai says, and that's really the aside that of Reb Shimon Bar Yochai, that he saw this. He saw that the Brias were in Yashu Yudayim and Torah Ma'od, because he saw the destruction and the loss, the tremendous loss that we had from losing all of the Talmidim of Rebbe Kiva. So that's why he says that if you're Omer Mischazik Ba, you could be Netel Schar Kulam. And, Reb Shimon was from those new Talmidim Rebbe Kiva that started all over again, as difficult as it was. But that's the pshat in what's going on that's the pshat in why Reb Shimon Bar Yochai, is the one that says, Chas v'Shalom shetishtachach Torah miYisrael. Okay, let's, Adkan.